Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Hey, what's up? You probably haven't even heard of this game, but it's amazing. The game I'm referring to is Aviary Eternity. The game was originally Kickstarter and was successfully backed during December 11, 2014. Development started shortly after. The game was due to be finished around June of 2015, but instead, development was finalized during January 6, 2016. The game was supposed to have a DRM-free version, but ultimately never came to fruition, leaving many upset that our promise was broken. And just putting my 2 cents on this, I had no idea it even had DRM, and it sucks. It makes no sense for a game like this. Why spend precious money on DRM when pirates will pirate? But aside from the hiccups, the game is so freaking good. It's so charming, so whimsical, but unfortunately lacks the length to back it up. What do I mean? Well, the character. There's nothing but positivity when it comes to the characters. Everyone has their own unique charm and quirks. They all feel like characters and not caricatures. Everyone has their own unique role in the story. They all deal with their own personal issues that you will learn throughout the game, as you can change some of the events that take place. As you are JG Falcon, defense lawyer, and your associate Sparrow Son, who is by far my favorite character. He's so charming and funny. I love him. There are times where you might hate a character, but after learning about them and hearing their point of view, you might change your mindset. And that's exactly what happened to me. And not only that, and the only reason why that happened is because the writing in this game is well worth it. It's compelling, humorous, delightful, and overall entertaining. And that's not something I would ever say to a game like this. I'm the kind of person who would never touch a game like this, as a genre bores me, but the writing is that good. But to be honest, the gameplay and the art style is what drew me in originally. So the way I even found out about this game was by watching a Let's Play from Dodger years ago. But I didn't continue after the 5-minute mark, as I love the character models so much. I found them funny, and it's what really drew me in. On top of that, the art style was so different that it helped remarkably. And with the year the game set in, it really works for the time period. The year is 1848. You're a defense lawyer going around and fighting for justice. The gameplay is most reminiscent of the Ace Attorney games, and that's another reason why I was so drawn into this game, but with a few additions that I wish the Ace Attorney games would actually include, but probably will never do so, as we haven't got an Ace Attorney game for a couple of years now. And I don't know what Capcom's doing with it. But the additions are very simple, and the way the game handles them works really well. I'm glad the dev team didn't go out the way to introduce mechanics that would be useless, but instead everything shown has its own purpose. The wallet. This will display the amount of money you have during the game. This is not the most useful, but it does come in very handy in certain scenarios. And as the game progresses, you can both gain and lose money depending on the choices you make throughout the game. Next is the map screen. Oh my god, a map screen. Yeah, I know, right? Imagine if Ace Attorney had one. So the way this works is the map displays all the places you can go on a day-to-day basis to gain information, evidence, and so on. I like the map, but it has a few issues. Firstly, it should have been given an in-game tip menu so I can reread all the information whenever I want. As sometimes when I would like to visit an area in the game, it will consume a day, but sometimes that isn't the case. And I wasn't sure as to why until I searched it up. So on the map screen, when selecting the area you want, if it has a clock symbol, it will take it in-game day. But if it doesn't, it won't. And if there's an exclamation mark, that means there's a special event that furthers the plot in some way, but it will never take a day. But also, the names for the places you visit are just a little bit confusing, as I forget if I've been somewhere during the case. But the map is still pretty cool, as throughout the game you will encounter characters, and those characters will always have something to say to progress the case you're on. Having the choice to go wherever you want can lead to different evidence being found. This is very important, as the game has 3 endings. Along with the map is Facebook. Yeah, I know, what a creative name. Facebook, just like real Facebook, is a way to keep track on who you already met through investigations or just random encounters. In addition, in certain scenarios, characters will describe or name someone that you might have forgot about, so Facebook is a good way to keep track of that. The next additions are investigations and evidence. Not really additions, as the Ace Attorney games already have these, but the way this game does it is a little different. Throughout the game, you go to new locations and meet people who might know something about the case you're on, just like the Ace Attorney games. But it's here where there's a little different. So in this game, when on investigations, you have the choice to go where you want. In addition, you might pick up different evidence with what locations you go to, so this already differentiates the game from being an Ace Attorney clone. Not only that, but when at a crime scene, you can investigate the area for clues, for it might be included in the evidence folder to use later when in court. And finally, cross-examination. This more or less goes with the investigations and evidence, as all of these are used when in court. When the opposing side has stated their testimony, Falcon will cross-examine what they're talking about, and you will have to make sure it all makes sense with the evidence you have gathered so far. When selecting a portion to cross-examine, you usually have 2 questions to ask, but if you feel like someone is hiding something, you can persuade them to talk more. But this has repercussions, for if they reveal that nothing was amiss, the jury will feel like you had just been stalling for time. This will have you lose favor with the jury, and if this happens 3 times, you fail to defend your client. However, this doesn't end the game, you just continue with characters referring to your loss, and it does change the plot a tiny bit. And that's all the key features the game offers. The last thing to talk about is the music. The music for this game is really good for what they were going for, but it's a shame that half the time when in court, the music will just stop for no reason as tensions are rising. And it really kills the mood for me because, well, I'm engaged in the dialogue. I'm like, hot damn, what's gonna happen next? And then all of a sudden, the music just stops, and I just go, well, what's going on? Did my speakers die? Do I have to mess around with the stuff in the back? No, instead, you just have to read a bit more dialogue, and a new piece of music will just reoccur. And that to me doesn't make any sense, because why don't they just continue looping the music like it already has been doing so, and then play the new piece of music? The game already does that in other scenarios in the actual story mode. Why is this time any different? It's just an overall bizarre experience that I just don't understand what the developers or the team behind the game were thinking. It's a minor issue, to be honest, but it's just one that really annoys me. In total, the story isn't very long. You can finish within 5 hours and it's very enjoyable. But the team behind this said they were going to make a free DLC chapter, but that never came into fruition. So I'm unsure as to how to talk about the story, but I'll cover the first case. The game begins on January 1st, 1848, with the illustration showcasing a dead frog and a silhouette standing over it. Lawyer J.J. Falcon and Sparrowson are given the task to defend Dame Cataline, the cat who was lurking over the dead frog from the beginning. She is being accused of murder. When talking to her, she tells us that it was Friday and they were invited to Chateau Serene's home when they arrived. Her father, the frog, Greenway, and the Baron were all talking about business stuff, as they all have a connection to the railway business. At 7:30, they took a picture, oblivious Greenway the frog was missing and murdered around the same time. And this is why I love Sparrowson. As I've run out of all the questions to ask, Sparrowson swoops in and says we've missed out the most important question. And he says it in the most suspenseful way possible. He goes ahead and asks, what food was being served at the event? And it is by far very hilarious with how it was presented. Kathleen talks about the food that they've eaten before the murder. She had a herring and a marble steak, bloody rare. She provided that the Baron did not give out any silverware while they were at the event. So Falcon and Sparrowson head to the Baron's home, who tells him that he's innocent and he has nothing to hide. He does tell Falcon that the image the photographer took had not finished developing yet. He lets us explore his house for any clues or evidence we can use in court. When heading to the lounge, Sparrowson spots a person in the room doing something shifty. When confronting her, she reveals that she's the maid of the home, and this was the room where the photo was taken. But Falcon spots a clock in the background with no hands. The maid Colleen states that the clock never had hands and it's only there as a conversation piece. She also confesses that she's been stealing the silverware, to which matches up with why they were not given any silverware. When heading to the garden looking at the fountainhead lies a cigarette inside. The next place to visit is the photographer Roberto Rubino's studio. When Falcon and Sparrowson arrive, there's a note saying he's out and he'll be back whenever. If you break in, the only notable evidence is the image of Caroline, her father, and the maid. So as evidence, I borrowed it. The next day is the last day, is the court date. January 6, 1848. Today is the court date, and during the trial, prosecutor Rabington called his first witness, Inspector Valeretti. He begins with stating that Dame Cataline was over the dead frog with bloody paws. But if you pursue him on that fact, you can demolish these claims by stating what food the guest ate, a herring bloody rare. In addition, the reason why she had blood on her paws is because there was no silverware. This moment has a jury stunned and Inspector Valeretti. As he leaves, the next witness is brought onto the stand, Roberto Rubino, photographer. He claims that he arrived at 7 and took the image at 7:30. He shows the jury the photo taken, and to reveal, the image he has is different to ours, as the people in it are for one. Which Sparrowson makes a point. Why doesn't Falcon just show the picture that we have? Boom, case closed, done, that's it. But as Falcon puts it, it was illegally obtained, and showcasing the evidence could put the whole court in disarray, delaying or prosecuting the wrong person. In any case, there is another mistake in the background. The clock in the background has hands, but Falcon knows this isn't right, questioning Roberto, and he will confess that some of the photos are manipulated and that the reason for doing so is because he fears his claws. Rubino is taken away. As Rubino leaves, the final witness is brought onto the stand, the Baron himself. He states that he had never been to the garden as he is allergic, but only came down to see Greenwee found dead. But by cross-examining his statement and providing the cigarette butt, there's no other option than he committed the crime. And by doing this, he threatens to gut Falcon, providing all the evidence we need to prove that he's the killer. And while everyone is celebrating, Caroline confesses that she is in fact the killer. She killed Greenwee in order to help her father's business. And I'm just like, what the what? I was duped. I was conned. Can I redo this? This isn't fair. I just give the wrong man the wrong justice. But that's how cool this game is. I probably butchered the first chapter or the first real case, but just playing through it blindly, I was just like, it was just a big what the what moment, and it was just like, did I do something wrong? Can I go back and change this? And I don't know if you can, but it's really, really, really cool. Unfortunately, one of the things I dislike about this game, and even in the end, is that some characters don't really have a resolution. But that's pretty much it for Aviary Eternity, or at least the first case, that is. If you haven't picked it up, you should. That is if you enjoyed the Ace Attorney games or have some sort of interest in them. Or even if you haven't played those games, this is a great entry start. I wouldn't buy this game right now as it costs £11, which is fine. But if there's a sale on Steam, do check it out though, as it will reduce to £3. But I wonder who gets the money. The dev team have all left my knowledge, so I'm not really sure who's actually getting any money from this, as the DLC chapter that was promised isn't coming back, as the DRM free version isn't coming back. Most people have just left. I was looking at some of the people who are working on this game, and one of them is working on a brand new game. I'll put in the link below if I find it again. But yeah, I would love to play another chapter of this, because I did enjoy it, and I would just want a sequel to this. I loved all the characters, I loved the music, I loved especially the art style. At first I thought the art style would get a little tacky, but now it was just, whoa, it was very good, especially for the time period it was set in. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, bye bye. See ya.